Before coming here, I was with women ambassadors that's assigned in the Philippines. And I learned that in Africa, they are working on their African Union. After that meeting I had with the ambassadors, I met somebody who is with the Green Growth Institute. And there I learned that pasay na yung BRICS. Now it's gonna be, you must have heard about VIP, right? Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. And now, between ASEAN and the African Union, they're talking about the next economies being PINE. Philippines, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Ethiopia. So a lot of things are happening really, and it's really interesting as somebody new in the public sector to understand the implications of many things that are happening in the world relative to economic communities. The fact is, ASEAN economies are gaining momentum, and it is not true that it's going to be happening after in 2015. Opportunities for complementation and less competition is really about ASEAN. It's about a bigger market. And it's really about institutionalizing or implementing the ASEAN economic community vision, a stable, prosperous, highly competitive ASEAN economic region in which there is free flow of goods, services, investments, and freer flow of capital, equitable economic development, and reduced poverty and socioeconomic disparities. So there is what they call an ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint, which was written in 2007. They are also project managers. And there's a dashboard that measures the progress that each countries are doing. Actually, there are 4 characteristics in AEC. 1, a single market and a production base. 2nd, a competitive economic region. 3rd, an equitable economic development. And finally, an integration into the global economy. So the question you probably will be asking is, where are we right now? Well, you may not know that 99% of all tariff lines in the Philippines are already at 0% since 2010. So it's not gonna be like a big bang happening by 2015. No, in fact, the only items that are still maintaining a large tariff rate would be rice and swine and all those agricultural products, including sugar. So the AAC blueprint commitments are largely complied with by the Philippines, with compliance rates ranging from 84 to 88%. This is based on the ASEAN Secretariat. So December 31, 2015, as I said, is not a day of reckoning, but more a reference date. And there is no drastic change that will happen by January 1, 2016, as with the fabled 2YK bug. So just to show you how it's stacking up. So there are 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier. These goals or pillars are actually interrelated and mutually reinforcing, and were established in accordance with the principles of open, outward-looking, inclusive, and market-driven economy consistent with the rules that were agreed with. So it's really rules-based, and it's actually very typical languages that you hear about growing economies. There is no other time exuberant as today. Most of the economies in ASEAN have good GDP growth rates. So while that is happening, as I mentioned, it's about a free flow of services, of goods, right? and also of services. I think I'd like to focus on the what's happening. The modes of supply in trade services, because this has impact with most of you. So I thought I'd focus on this, and maybe some other DTI official might not really, really realize the importance of services with respect to this industry when they talk. So be patient with me in saying these things. There are 4 modes of trade services that will impact software services or software as a services. Mode number 1 is cross-border trade. This would be the service that is supplied by the provider who physically locates himself to another country or to a customer in another country. So this could also be virtual, as in services that is enabled by internet. Number 2 would be consumption abroad. The type of service may probably not be software, but it could be software enabled. This would be customer traveling to another country to consume a service. For example, a student traveling abroad to study, or somebody who is traveling to enjoy himself as a tourist. The other one is commercial presence, where the foreign service supplier establishes a legal presence in another country to provide the service. So, for example, a software company opens an office in another country in a joint venture. And mode number 4 would be the movement of natural persons. A person who travels temporarily to another country in order to supply the service. Now, all this may be applicable to companies in this room. So you might want to consider this in the environment. If you recall in the video that I showed you, there are ABCs in preparing for APEC. One is audit the environment and make sure that your company is ready for it. Number 2, remember to brand yourself. Think of your brand not just the Philippines, but the world. A country, a supplier that is ASEAN. And finally, communication. Remember to pitch with a view in mind that we are a community serving the world. So, and doing business within ASEAN is based on a tariff that has been agreed upon. Whereas, for example, in the European Union, where it's tariff with the world. Here, you have one common tariff in ASEAN, but our tariff countries have their prerogative to maintain their tariff with economies outside ASEAN. So, now what is DTI doing about preparing the country to ASEAN? The DTI is one of the lead agencies that help in these endeavors. We have an integrated trade and industry strategy, and a lot of things are happening since 1967, since this was formed by 6 countries. A lot of international trade negotiations. So as a government, we're very involved in these negotiations, and we have developed 3 pillars again in order to help us sort this out. Number 1 is one country, one voice. That means stakeholder engagement in trade policy making. So we do confer and consult with the business with respect to the trade negotiations, particularly those who are leading the business. As you can see in the video, a lot of successful businesses have been featured here in some way or form. And they are representing also all levels of the business sector, from SMEs, small, medium enterprises, the mid-sized enterprises, as well as large companies. The other one is One Country, One Network. This is expanding and building capacity for our trade research institutions, and One Country, One Team. So there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration here. Now, this is what government is doing for you. What about industry? In both government side and industry or business side, we really have to focus on advocacy and communications. We do need to understand what ASEAN is about, because as they say, the beginning of wisdom is understanding. So we do need to understand, really in a thoughtful process, what ASEAN means to our business. And the other thing, which is very important, is industry competitiveness. Government can do some things about this, but really it will be driven by business, your business. Well, the Philippines, as you know, grew 7.2% last year. So my view is that many of you are already competitive. The idea is competitiveness, and the idea is we have a larger market to play in. So let me zoom into more particularly in the software. So nations unite for protection, support, and collaboration. This is the very essence of ASEAN. We encourage industry associations, industries and businesses to do the same thing. Seek for, work together for protection, support, and collaboration. And you can do it through in PSIA, in IBPAP, or in any other venues. In fact, business and industry has much influence in making success with regard to the country competitiveness. Always remember what has been recommended, ABC. Assess the environment, remember the brand, be differentiated, and C would be your communication channels. The other thing, if you recall in the video, Mrs. Cosson's advice would be in 3 areas. Competitiveness, which companies can do. Second is education. And thirdly would be government, the ease of doing business in the Philippines. That's actually my initiative. I was invited to join the government for the ease of doing business. Okay, just a little bit of update on that one. It might be good for you to know that with respect to the sole proprietorship and the business name registration system, it can now be done online if you have a mobile end-to-end in less than 30 minutes, as long as you have a good connectivity. This is for business name, for sole proprietorship. As long as you have mobile wallet, Globe, and you have petty cash card, which is your ATM card through BankNet. That's one accomplishment. And it might be good for you to know that DTI now has one common email system. Very simple, but I think the impact of it is good. So in ASEAN, ICT is considered very important. In the Philippines, the minister responsible for ICT is no less than the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology. So he sits in the TELMIN, meaning Telecommunications Ministers Meeting. And there are 4 outcomes that are being expected from the ICT Master Plan. ICT as an engine for growth for ASEAN, a recognition that ASEAN is a global ICT hub, ICT for enhanced quality of life in peoples of ASEAN, and the contribution of ICT move towards ASEAN integration. As you can see, a lot of business opportunities is here. It is only up to us to think differently and think of a compelling value proposition to customers that might not just be in the Philippines, but within ASEAN. It might be of interest for you to know that, do you know the top export destination for the Philippines? It's actually Japan. And then China, and US thereafter. But within ASEAN, in a combined force, we haven't really measured it, but you can just imagine the free flow of goods if this happens. And it poses some concerns, it poses some opportunities, it offers opportunities too. Now, why are we in this thing? Should we back out? I don't advise for us to back out. It's there. All economies are actually doing communities. So if we back out, we will be a loser. Besides, the Philippines is one of the founding members of ASEAN. So the pillars we have in the pillars of the ICT plan is similar to how you prepare your companies for growth, right? But it is in a higher level, in fact. Well, it thinks of, we have to think of the foundation being the infrastructure development, the backbone, you know, the connectivity that should be prepared in the country. And we're somehow not as fast as we would expect. Human capital development is very important, and bridging the digital divide. We should reach out to the common tao as far as the poorest provinces in the country, because if we bridge the digital divide, that will help in the inclusive growth of our country. But again, it's very important that the pillars would be economic transformation. There should be growth first, there should be business first, and then, and while I'm saying then, it can happen simultaneously. People empowerment and engagement. It's important to enhance the quality of life of our people through an affordable and equitable ICT. And more importantly, innovation. The Philippines is running, it has a lot of room to improve in this area. That's why the initiative of PSIA in Spring.ph and all those conventions, conferences that you're thinking about would be important catalysts to spur innovation, particularly for our girls and boys as they grow to be the future engineers and software professionals. I'm not gonna do this. Some of the key takeaways, because I would like to give some time to Q&A. What are the key takeaways that I'd like to leave behind? ICT is a priority sector by ASEAN, and if we don't run, if we just walk, we will be left behind. ASEAN is aiming to be the ICT hub, so let's take advantage of that. The Philippine software industry can be considered as first mover among the ASEAN member states, such that the AEC is an opportunity for you. Service models 3 and 4, commercial presence and the movement of natural persons is probably the most useful for this industry because of the highly visible and intimate nature of our industry to what we do in terms of improving the lives of peoples within ASEAN. And also because the Filipinos the Filipinos are considered to be the most adaptable in socio-cultural environments. The ASEAN nations have different languages, right? And the Philippines, while it has the Filipino, is of course considered and recognized as the most advanced with respect to the business language of English. So the IT BPM services actually is a very good foundation for the ICT business, but we can do much more. We can brand ourselves. We have to still look for the time that we can see a Filipino software, Philippine-made software, or another large homegrown Filipino business, not just in terms of people, but in terms of the revenues. Well, I don't know if Ben is here, but I must congratulate her. The Point West was recognized as the best homegrown Filipino software company in the Philippines recently. If anyone from Point West, congratulations. So we need those kinds of companies, and let's not be afraid to actually partner. The other thing that is important in the opportunities in advancements in ICT is that government is spending, it has put a big budget for automation. I know that there are issues in procurement law, but there is a science behind working with government. Just comply with what's written in the book, and we'll get there. It's slow. Sometimes it's very frustrating. In fact, I'm frustrated. But we have to really put some rhyme and reason behind those process. Just as an advertisement, we are looking into building a one unified, integrated registration of juridical entities in the Philippines. In other countries, there are 3 types of registration. This would be the advanced economies. One registration system for business or juridical entities, one for properties, and the other registration system is for the individual. We don't have any of those. Ours are all siloed. So a lot of things are being done in that respect, and so government is devoting time, effort, and putting money to put major improvements in processes. Okay. So I guess that is what I have today. I do welcome any questions. I have another video.
I have a question there.
Yes.
So, do I understand this right?